Hi, I am Hannah Turner, and this is my case study for EDL 851. In this situation, I have observed Mrs. Stevens twice in the past week, once on last Thursday and then again on Monday. And I have conducted two post conferences with her, and both of those post conferences were not successful. She was very angry both times. And the reason why I've observed her so often is because evaluations are due to the superintendent soon, and I'm trying to wrap them up and submit my recommendations. I have written a report stating that Mrs. Stevens' contract should not be renewed based on my observations the past two times. Mrs. Stevens obviously reacted very negatively to those, to my thoughts and my judgments. She said that my report is inaccurate and unfair. And she said that she would fight that report in court if necessary. She's made it very clear that she wants to keep her job. The superintendent does not know about the situation just yet, but he should, and he will very soon. Next, I need to analyze what is the damage. Has anyone been harmed? Not physically, no. No punches or anything like that have been thrown, but my relationship with Mrs. Stevens has been potentially gone through some irreparable damage. I'm not quite sure if she could ever trust me as her principal again after having read that report. So that is something that I need to keep in mind moving forward. She very clearly stated that I have not behaved in a way that she thought I should. I have not been a good enough supervisor to her. She made that very, very clear. The law clearly states in the state of Kansas, I can dismiss my teachers, but I do need conclusive documentation. The report that I wrote is very short. It's half a page, and it doesn't have any place for comments. It doesn't have a lot of comments on it. And the fact that I've only done it twice, that is not conclusive evidence. And I feel like if she were to take this matter to court, we would lose. And that, of course, would be bad publicity for the district, as well as it would cost us a lot of money. We obviously do not want that to happen at all. No contracts have been breached. Mrs. Stevens at this time will finish her contract year with us, even if she is terminated. If I continue to observe Mrs. Stevens, she might take that as harassment, but as of right now, she has not accused anyone, myself or any member of my staff, for harassment. To kind of boil it all down together, I've observed Mrs. Stevens twice in the past week, written negative reports both times, and she has reacted with hostility towards my assessments of her teaching to the point of threatening a lawsuit. We have a very sticky situation for us. The people involved, obviously Mrs. Stevens, she is on the cusp of tenure, which that might have influenced my decisions. I know Mrs. Stevens to be knowledgeable in her subject area. She is extremely intelligent. She has also shown herself to be extremely defensive over her methods when I've questioned them. She very much believes she is doing everything she can. And based on my second conference, though she was quite angry with me when she said it, she seems to be willing to try new ideas. She wants to stay here. Then there's me. I'm the principal. I am filling out these forms at the last minute. Not the best decision on my part. I know Mrs. Stevens is up for tenure, and so that might have influenced my decisions. I very much want only the best teachers here, and if I give her a positive rating, that would mean that she would get tenure, and it would be very difficult from here on out for me to let her go. So that there might be some bias there on my part. I am very non-confrontational. I am trying to do things with as little upset as possible. And I have not offered any actionable feedback. Mrs. Stevens herself brought that up to me. And also, most importantly, the most important people involved here are the students. When I observed her classroom, I observed them to be engaging in non-classroom appropriate behaviors. Um, they don't seem to participate with what Mrs. Stevens is trying to do in her class. They seem to be bored. That is my opinion. Um, and I've also observed them to be mildly disrespectful to the teacher, but Mrs. Stevens did not seem to mind that at all. She didn't address it. So that tells me that these behaviors are the norm in her classroom. Um, we are in Yates Center, Kansas. That is where I am a principal. We are a very small, tight knit community. So anything like firing a teacher, that is a big deal to us. So I really need to be careful moving forward because this might upset our community. We are the only elementary school for the county. That's a big deal. Our students only have one choice here, and so we need to get it right with our one option. And we have a total of 16 classroom teachers, kindergarten through 8th grade. Mrs. Stevens' classroom, she herself has stated that her classroom is informal, and that is exactly what I observed it to be. It is very informal. Next, we have our program. We are a public school. Mrs. Stevens is a general education teacher in a general education classroom. Given that she is trying to conduct some informal discussions, she is most likely teaching English or social studies. And then the age level is not stated, but I would hypothesize that it is middle school. In the grand scheme of things, this doesn't particularly matter. I am just trying to determine, is she an effective teacher? So whatever decision I make could be extremely damaging to stakeholders. I don't foresee a situation that is 100% going to be exactly what I want it to be. If I, for instance, let Mrs. Stevens go, that's obviously very damaging for our relationship, but it could also be very damaging for my teachers. They might start to see me as someone that they really can't trust and they really can't go to help them solve their issues with their classrooms. And secondly, if I let Mrs. Stevens go and it turns out that she is an effective teacher, that would obviously damage my students. They know her, they trust her, I have upset their environment. But on the other hand, if I don't let her go, she stays. And if she isn't effective, if she is not the best teacher, then that makes it more difficult on the rest of my staff. They have to kind of pick up the slack here. We're not all on the same page if I allow an ineffective teacher to stay on staff. And of course, that would obviously damage my students. They deserve only the best. And it is my job to make sure that they have the best teachers in their classrooms. The students have obviously the most to gain or lose in this situation. Teacher quality is the highest indicator of student success, and principal leadership is the highest indicator of who my teachers are and how great that they can be. A good principal can have good teachers, and good teachers will obviously help students learn more. Since students are the number one priority here, their opinion should count for something. My initial reports did not factor in student opinions or student surveys or student data of any kind. And because of that, and because of the lack of detailed information in my report, I really do not believe I have enough information to decide one way or the other. I need to go back and gather more information before I decide. So I have come up with 3 different situations. I have 3 different options. The first one is to do nothing. I don't really believe that this is an actual choice. I have to act one way or the other. Either I submit the report as it is, or I change some things and then I submit it. Either way, I'm doing something. I am changing something. I could rewrite the report to be positive, and I could refer the teacher to be rehired, or I could submit it as is and recommend the teacher to be terminated. Either one of those choices, I do not feel comfortable making. Next is the most extensive action. I could reprimand the teacher for her behavior. I am her boss, and she spoke to me rather rudely. I could write an extensive report detailing her behavior in post conferences and in the classroom. I could start recording conversations. I could observe her again, and I could provide more details, essentially. I could ask the superintendent to observe her, and to get a second opinion, and I could submit the report recommending her termination. That to me seems like an option. It seemed like a pretty safe option to go ahead and let her go, because I am very confident in my ability to find an excellent replacement. Um, Even if it does turn out to be a pretty decent teacher that can learn from her mistakes, I am confident that I can replace her. And then finally, there is a compromise. I need to first ask for an extension on submitting her form, because this plan requires the most time. I need to be able to collect student data and student input. I should observe her again using a different report, one that has more detail. And I could potentially ask a colleague to observe her, one that she knows and one that she trusts. It would be very low stakes. The three of us should get together, and share like some glows and grows from the lesson that day. I should not wait nearly as long as I did last time to share my findings with her. And that colleague could act as a mediator between the two of us, because she very much, like I stated before, she doesn't trust me anymore. Um, we should discuss possible solutions to the issues that we are seeing. Are they feasible? What do you think we should do? And I should follow up daily to check progress. So, some pros and cons of each of these options. The do nothing option, it is the path of least resistance. It is the least amount of work for myself, and it enables me to stick to my guns. I wrote the report the first time. I will intend on standing by it. It's also timely. I am doing what the superintendent needs me to do in a timely manner. Some cons: I have a very angry teacher and then a potential lawsuit on my hands. I'm not really making a choice, which means I am showing weak leadership. Um, Next, I have the most extensive plan. It is very decisive, and again, I'm sticking to my guns, and it's also thorough. I am very much covering all of my bases by writing these detailed reports based on her behavior the past week. Again, cons: I could have a very angry teacher. I could have a potential lawsuit on my hands if I terminate her. And there's also no room for growth for her. Um, as a principal, I really should believe in my staff's potential to learn and grow, and also it's very power hungry on my end, and I'm not very comfortable with that. The compromise. This is an actual compromise. It is solution oriented and provides a lot of support for Mrs. Stevens, and I will be providing actionable feedback for her. And this way, this compromise actually includes all stakeholders. It includes her in the decisions. It includes me. It includes her supervisor and other colleagues, and it also includes the superintendent. He now knows what is going on. Some cons: it would be time consuming, and I would not be able to submit my report on time. And it might give the appearance that I can be bullied into submission. Mrs. Stevens was quite hostile towards me, and the fact that I am willing to go back and try something new with her might give the impression that I can be bullied to get someone's way. The best option, in my opinion, is the compromise. I should first conference with Mrs. Stevens. I need to make sure that we're both on the same page, that moving forward, trying to come up with a solution for her to stay is actually what she wants at this point. Like I said, the relationship that we have is very damaged by my first report. I'm not sure if staying is really even what she truly wants at this time. So I need to meet with her and make sure that this is what she wants. And in this meeting, I need to be honest and say that her staying is not the goal. The goal is to try to find a solution to what's going on. And if we cannot come to a solution, if we cannot solve these issues, then her contract will be terminated. The goal is to find the best fit and to determine if she is the best fit for our school. I also need to collect student data. I need to ask students their opinion. I need to ask them, are you learning in this class? And I should view their current test scores. We do mini assessments 3 times a year, and we've already done the third one, and I can take a look at that third one and see how my students have progressed throughout the year. Are they learning or are they going backwards? How are they comparing to where they were last year? Does Mrs. Stevens have any kind of effect on that? I should also ask for a mediator, someone that she trusts. It could be her supervisor. That would be my first choice. But if that is not who she wants to be the mediator, then we can find someone else. I'm not too picky about this. It should be someone that she trusts. Since an extension will be asked for, the superintendent will have to know. He should know exactly why I am asking for an extension is because I don't believe I have enough information to truly make a decision on whether Mrs. Stevens should stay or not. And I should plan to consult with his supervisor prior to implementing this plan. The supervisor deserves to know, especially since she was brought up in our second meeting, not having provided any actual support from Mrs. Stevens, which is what Mrs. Stevens claims. I believe the main issue here, there's a lot of issues here, but one of the main ones on my end is the impending deadline. If I can find a way to work around that, that will relieve a lot of pressure on my end, and it will enable me to implement this strategy in the manner and time frame that I believe is most appropriate. I don't want to rush this. I want to make a good decision. So actually implementing this decision, first I need to talk to Mrs. Stevens. I need to make sure that we're both on the same page. And then we'll need to collect that student data. That should take us about a few days to do. And then I should schedule a pre-conference. This is something that I hadn't done before. I need to make sure that I can observe her. If it's not me that she wants to observe her, who could it be then? Could it be your supervisor? Could it be a coworker? The superintendent even? Who does she want it to be? And if a person being in the room besides her, an adult, is what really is the issue with her lessons, because I observed her students do appear bored, they weren't really engaging in the lesson with her, could we try something else? Instead of someone physically being there, could we maybe video a lesson? If I allow her to video a lesson, and if that's the choice that she chooses, I would give her a few days to do that so that she can video a lesson that she believes is truly quality. And that will give me a really good idea of what it actually is that her classes actually look like. And then some questions that I need to make sure to ask her. What do you want me or us to look for? What do you want us to see? What are your strengths? What are some areas for growth? And what should we expect to see in this lesson? What are you planning to do? What are you going to do? What should we expect the students to do? What are we going to do? And above all, I believe that I should use a different evaluation form. I really don't think that evaluation form would provide an accurate picture of all my staff. It's just not detailed enough. Either I use the same form and I just take a lot of notes, or I use an entirely different form and I take this pre-conference time to go over it and what I expect a proficient level teacher to be able to do. And then I should observe again, and I should schedule a post-conference for that day. I need to be very honest and open about what I observed. This is what I saw. These are the behaviors that I saw from you. These are behaviors I saw from the students. Did your lesson go as planned? What went well? What did you think did not go well? How can we improve? How can we build upon what you do well? I know that she's a very intelligent teacher. She knows a lot about her subject matter. So how can we use that to our advantage? She clearly wants to use her knowledge to engage in discussions, but the discussions that she's engaging in are pretty one-sided from my observations. So what can we do to further engage the students? Have we tried Socratic circles? Have we tried think, pair, share? some different strategies. Her supervisor should also have some additional strategies. And then after this post-conference, I should follow up daily to check on her progress. I don't want to disrupt class a lot because clearly that very much upsets her. She does not like that. She said that she does not like it. But I do need to find a way to where I can check on her, maybe during passing period. Maybe I can look through the window without actually having to go in the room, or maybe she can continue videoing her classes and I could watch the videos as I can. But there needs to be some way where I can check up on her and make sure that she's doing what she needs to do. So what is the worst case scenario with my plan? Um, she continues to be hostile towards any suggestions that I provide, and she just does not improve. And if that is the case, I believe following my plan, I will have enough documentation to back up the fact that she should be terminated, that she's just not the teacher that we need in that classroom at that point. The best case scenario is that she becomes open and available for some feedback and that she is able to improve and that she shows that she is capable of improving and continuing to improve. I'm not asking for her to go from 0 to hero. I'm asking her to show a reasonable amount of improvement, to show that she does want to get better, because teachers should always want to get better. We can never stop learning. Who needs to know about this? Besides myself and Mrs. Stevens, the supervisor that she mentioned, the mentor that she has, and obviously the superintendent. He needs to know that I'm going to be taking time. He needs to know why, and he needs to know that there's a potential lawsuit coming up on our hands if I terminate this teacher. I do not believe that I can deal with this problem on my own. There needs to be at least one other person there with me, whether that is the superintendent, the supervisor, another colleague, or all three of them. I cannot do this alone because Mrs. Stevens does not trust my judgment any longer. I need to be honest with her and tell her the goal is to determine if you are the best fit here. That doesn't mean that you're a bad teacher. Not at all. It's just you might not be the person that we need in this position. That is the goal. That's what I'm trying to figure out here. If I do more research, if I do more digging, and I decide conclusively that you are not who we need, then you will be let go. But if I can see some improvement, if I can see you trying to engage the students, if I can see some genuine improvement on your part, then we can rewrite this report and I can submit to the superintendent something different. But I do need to be honest that termination is still on the table. Just because we're trying something different doesn't mean I don't that keeping her, that tenure, is the ultimate goal. If this does not work, if she doesn't improve, then, or if she doesn't want to do this, then what can I do? I feel like I still should ask the supervisor to observe her, and the supervisor can write their own report completely separate from mine. I don't want the supervisor to read my report before she observes her. And then if that comes back as negative, then I feel like we should have enough information to be able to terminate her and avoid a lawsuit. But again, I want to avoid that lawsuit as much as possible. Some reflections on this situation. This is a very sticky situation. I feel like if I had evaluated her early and often, I would have been able to better identify that she was struggling, and I would have been able to give her better feedback from the get-go. Evaluations are typically due at the end of the year, and this is just quite frankly not enough time to be able to make the best judgment here, but I'm going to do my best. Actionable feedback is crucial. Mrs. Stevens clearly wants it. She clearly needs it. And she's very frustrated that she hasn't gotten it yet. And I need to be able to teach all of my staff members to give it. The supervisor hasn't been giving it. And if I can train my teachers to give it, they can give it to each other when they observe each other. Trust is so important. the fact that she saw my report that said I recommended her to be terminated, I believe that means she no longer trusts my judgment, which means that I cannot handle the situation on my own anymore. I've essentially given up control of the situation because I broke her trust. And Mrs. Stevens also has not been all that involved in her own evaluation, and she needs to be able to take ownership in her teaching. This is her job, this is her livelihood, um, this is what she does. She needs to take some ownership of that. Does she if she thinks she does well, what about what she does? Does she think she does well? What does she think she doesn't do all that well? How can we fix that? All Most of these things need to come from the teacher and their own reflections, um, instead of just what my observations are. And I also need to give teachers the support they need. She clearly doesn't feel supported by me or her supervisor. That is super important. Teachers need to be in an environment in which they feel like they are able to grow and develop into the teachers that they want to be. And most importantly, student success is by and large the most important thing. If my collection of data, if that comes back and says that students do not enjoy your class, they're not learning, then I feel like that's a pretty big nail in that coffin that she will be dismissed. Um, my job is to make sure that I have the best teachers for my students. Good teachers means my students are learning, and their happiness, not necessarily their happiness, but their learning and their growth is the most important thing to me right now. Even if it means upsetting the community, upsetting Mrs. Stevens, or upsetting my other teachers, if I can have a better teacher in there, if she is not who we need, then that means that's what's best for my students. I always should do what is best for my students. Thank you.